Going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video today. I want to talk about free agency and get back into this conversation. A couple days ago, we talked about cornerbacks and which cornerbacks the Colts might end up targeting. You know, they have a good amount of cap space left, at least enough to sign a veteran or two. So maybe they go get a cornerback, add a veteran to that room, or maybe we roll into the year with Dallas Flowers, Juju Brents, and Jalen Jones. And to me, that seems like a likely course of action, especially when you look at other things that the Colts could do. Other things includes going after one of the veteran safeties. Okay, when you look at what the Colts need, right? We brought back Julian Blackman, so we don't need a strong safety. He's our guy at that position. So when you look at it, yes, we could go into a year with Nick Cross, and I would like to see Nick Cross get some playing time. So I'd be down if we went into the year with Nick Cross. Okay, just to put that out there, I'd be fine if that's the course of action we took. But even though I'm a fan of Nick Cross, and I think Nick Cross can be really good in the NFL, getting proven talent just makes you feel better, right? Like if we went out and got one of these other safeties, it would just be a more comfortable feeling. So when you look at it, you look at who's available at the free safety position. According to Spotrac, there's 11 guys to choose from, right? Adrian Amos, who was previously with the Texans, was a really good safety. He was a really good safety in the NFL, but he's just at a point in his career where he's not nearly the same player he used to be. So Adrian Amos, really out of the conversation, in my opinion. Terrell Edmonds is out there. It's kind of interesting that he's out there, right? A guy that is just over 27 years old. Still plenty of tread left on those tires, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Not really sure if the Colts would go out and get Terrell Edmonds when we could just go with Nick Cross and play Nick Cross. Okay, but then you start getting into some interesting names, right? Adrian Phillips, a veteran in the NFL, maybe just not what he used to be. Colts are probably looking to get, more young, more explosive at that position, and be able to have, the explosiveness and the athleticism to keep up with these receivers nowadays. So I don't know if Adrian Phillips would be in that conversation. Marcus May, between age and injuries, he's also one of those guys. Like, are you really going to go after him after everything that he's been through over the last couple of years? Again, between injuries, getting older, being on different teams. Like Marcus May was a good player, but I just don't know if he's the same as he was. I think the injuries have kind of taken their toll on him. But then Tracy Walker, I think, is an interesting name. Somebody played for the Lions last year, and somebody that's kind of been an underrated name, in my opinion. But is he as good as the guys that we all know about? The guys that, as if you're a Colts fan, like a diehard Colts fan, you've been paying attention to this conversation. There are two names we're really looking at here. That's Quandre Diggs and Justin Simmons. Now, Eddie Jackson also on this list. He's the last name on this list. Eddie Jackson, who was making $14.6 million last year for the Bears. He's now a free agent, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. When he was a little younger, he was one of the best safeties in the league without a doubt. But between Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons, these are two guys who were making top-level safety money, but these guys are still top-level safeties, right? When we've talked so much about Justin Simmons, bringing him in, and I still think that's a good option when you look at what the Colts are, right? And what the Colts, we just went through the draft, and after looking into some of the players that the Colts drafted, there's, there's reason to believe that the Colts kind of did a good job getting those late round picks. Chris Ballard, really good in the late round. I think the late round secondary picks for the Colts could hit, right? Of course, these guys have to develop, continue to get better. But I really like the picks that the Colts had in the later rounds at cornerback. And they even ended up drafting some safeties, but we'll end up seeing whether or not they pan out. But I think Justin Simmons coming into the room, right, being just over 30 years old, I think this is a guy that, with his experience, right, he's played on some winning teams, been on some really good defenses, been in some different defenses. He can come in, be the perfect fit for the defense, but also come in and be able to teach a lot of these young guys and not come in and he's not going to get paid to coach these guys, but you know how it is, right? You have a veteran in the room. These young guys can watch how he handles himself, watch how he prepares, watch how, he does things. They can pick his brain about why would you do this when this happens and that kind of thing, right? And go through that whole thing. So I think there's a lot of value in getting Justin Simmons, and the Colts have again the cap space to be able to afford him. He was making $15.25 million last year with Denver. I assume he's still going to warrant big safety money. So we'll see if the Colts pull the trigger on that. The other guy, Quandre Diggs, who's just over 31 years old right now, has obviously played for Detroit, played with Seattle. He was making $13 million last year, and now he becomes a free agent. There has been some talk out there about, there have been discussions between Quandre Diggs and the Colts, or at least mutual interest. I can't remember if the conversations had happened. I might be remembering wrong, but I know that I'd seen a report before about there being mutual interest between Quandre Diggs and the Indianapolis Colts. So Quandre Diggs, another one of those guys. He still has it. He's a guy that went over 30 years old, but he still has it, right? Still has plenty of tread on the tires. So he's another one of those veterans, man. Been in different systems, been on different teams, been with a lot of different groups of people, a lot of different coaches. So I think Quandre Diggs another interesting option, and I'd be fine with either of them. To be completely transparent, I'd be fine with either of them. I think both of them are really good. I think for me, like, who would I prefer if I had to choose Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs? I think Quandre Diggs is the one that I'd rather have. But again, both really, really good. Been fans of both these guys for a long time, especially somebody that, maybe you haven't heard this before if you're newer to the channel. I'm a defense guy. I like defense. Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, been some of the best at their position for quite a while now. So give me either one of these guys. But if I had to choose, and if I was Chris Ballard, um, I would try to pull the trigger on Quandre Diggs. And I think like that, you think about that addition, right? You go and get a Quandre Diggs, you put him on this defense, then you look at, the safeties, Julian Blackmon, Quandre Diggs. You look at the defensive line with Latu and Samson Ebicom, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart in the middle. Right then, our linebackers, obviously EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin, really good. Right, Ronnie Harrison playing that third linebacker role and being able to play that role really well last season. I expect him again to be able to play that role really well. But then you look at the corners. That's really the spot that we have trepidation with at that point, right? If we sign Quandre Diggs, that's the only part of the defense we're really worried about. But it's like we've talked about so much on this channel. Like the reason you needed an edge rusher, right? We talked about getting Neil Hunter this offseason. Like we ended up getting Latu, somebody that should be able to affect the passer at a more consistent rate. That's what you need. Affect the passer consistently. And I think Latu's going to be able to help us do that, right? Not going to be able to double team everybody. So somebody's going to be able to get theirs. And so I think Latu helps in that regard. And when the defensive line is able to do their thing, they're able to get after the quarterback, then the secondary has help, right? There was a clip going around on Twitter about when we played Jacksonville. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before or whatever, but it was where Trevor Lawrence ended up having like 8 seconds to throw the ball and they ended up getting a touchdown. That's not the secondary's fault. The pass rush just wasn't there. So if you need to be able to get to the quarterback, you can't let the quarterback have 4, 5, 6 plus seconds to throw the ball. If he is, the secondary is always going to lose, right? So the secondary we have could actually be a sticky secondary, but you just need your secondary to be sticky for 3 to 5 seconds. You start going over that, then it's going to be a problem. So going forward, again, the pass rush should be able to help the corners. You get a safety in there, the defense is solidified at that point. I really think that the one more safety and the defense could be completely set. Again, I like our corners. I've said it so much on this channel. If you haven't heard me say it, you heard me say it now. I really like our corners. I do. Okay, Dallas Flowers coming off the Achilles. Yeah, he's got to prove that he can be any level of the same player, but he's still a young player, and I think that he can come back and ramp up into being himself again. I think Juju Brents, as long as he doesn't have the hamstring issues, he's really good. Jalen Jones, was fine all year last year, and I think he's going to be a really good player. So, in that regard, I think we're good. I think the pass rush is going to actually be able to help him more often this season. So, get Quandre Diggs or get Justin Simmons. Again, my opinion, Quandre Diggs, bring him in. Defense gets really good. Of course, I'd like to know what your opinion is on all of this. I said kind of a lot here in this video. I'd like to know your opinion on everything. You let me know down in the comment section. Of course, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified as we're going to continue draft talk tomorrow. And we're going to continue looking into free agents. This is not the last conversation we're going to have. There's other positions that I've been looking at. So again, have those notifications turned on so that you get notified when any of these videos do come out. And of course, I appreciate you joining me for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.